What if I told you that UK homeowners can get their electricity for free or at least 70% cheaper? Hi, my name is Johannes, I'm from Retrofitted, and today in this video we will look at how home battery storage can reduce your electricity costs dramatically. In this video we will cover three topics. First, we will look at the benefits of having home battery storage without any solar panels. Then we will calculate the business case for installing a home battery storage. And lastly, we will look at the requirements for installing such a battery. Let's get started. You might have witnessed the growing popularity of solar panels in the UK, and that's largely because they've become so affordable and efficient that they even make sense in our cloudy climate here in the UK. And many homeowners I've spoken to still think that this is the only option to get cleaner and cheaper electricity. But it isn't. In fact, a battery without any solar panels can offer very similar benefits. You can save on electricity costs, you can get cleaner electricity, and you can protect yourself against blackouts as well as the volatility in electricity prices. Let's go through these one by one. Firstly, a battery helps you save on electricity costs through three main streams. Let's start with stream one. The battery reduces the cost for your electricity by charging up overnight when electricity is the cheapest, and you using that electricity during the day when it's the most expensive. Have a look at the upper chart. This is the price for a typical Economy 7 tariff. During the night, you pay 11p per kilowatt hour of electricity, and during the day, you'd pay 26p. And following this, the lower chart shows the battery's behavior. We charge up the battery for 11p and use that electricity during the day when you would usually pay 26p. In the simplest case, this means powering your home on electricity for 11p per kilowatt hour. Let's go to stream number two, which we call arbitrage. This means that you sell excess electricity at a higher price during the day than what you initially paid for it when charging your battery overnight. Lastly, you can earn additional income by providing flexibility to the grid. Flexibility here means adjusting your energy use or supply to help balance the grid during peak hours when there's a higher demand for electricity than the grid is capable of supporting. Look at the blue line on the chart. This is the electricity consumption of UK households roughly 10 years ago. The grid was planned and built with this consumption in mind. However, the actual peak consumption in the evenings is a lot higher than that. And this is only getting worse and worse as more people get electric vehicles and heat pumps installed. In order to balance this peak demand, grid operators opened up the so-called flexibility markets. The question is, how can you make money from this? Well, you could offer to discharge your battery during peak times when your local community needs extra electricity to help shave off that peak by supplying your grid. This lets you earn additional income from your battery. It's important to note though that homeowners can't participate in this market by themselves. They need a company like Retrofitted to do that. We aggregate multiple batteries in a given area and optimize their charging and discharging behavior to respond to the grid's need. All of this happens in the background. You won't notice any of this and can just consume electricity like you would usually do. Secondly, there are the environmental benefits of having a home battery storage. We charge the battery at night when electricity prices are the lowest. This also happens to be the time when the carbon intensity of electricity is the lowest. In fact, it's 20% lower than at peak times. And this is largely driven by the high share of electricity generated through wind farms at night compared to lots of gas plants that produce electricity at peak times. The third benefit of a home battery is that it protects your household against the volatility in electricity prices and blackouts. And this resilience is particularly important in times like the recent energy crisis in 2022, where the spread between the lowest and highest electricity price in a given day is significantly higher than usual. Compare this with the spread that we currently see in 2024 on the chart. And homeowners can avoid being affected by energy crisis like this by just charging up at the lowest electricity price on any given day and avoiding the high prices altogether. A battery also protects your household against blackouts. And blackouts are not very common in the UK, but they will become more and more likely as the pressure on the grid increases. They provide backup power for 1 to 2 days and keep essential devices running. So now that we understand the benefits of installing a home battery, let's dive deeper into the business case. Typically, the UK household will see a payback period of 8 to 9 years on the investment into a home battery. Compare this with the payback periods of solar and heat pumps of 13 or more than 20 years respectively. Let's go through a very simple example of an investment into a home battery to illustrate this payback period. The average UK household with 4 occupants that doesn't have an EV or a heat pump consumes on average 10 kilowatt hours per day or 3,600 kilowatt hours per year. We will compare this household's electricity costs without the battery and with the battery. In the scenario without the battery, they have a fixed electricity tariff at 26p per kilowatt hour. And at their average consumption, they spend £2.60 on electricity per day. After installing a battery and switching to a flexible standard tariff, they pay 11p at night and 32p during the day. And you know it already, but they charge up the battery during the night and discharge it during the day. This leaves them with daily electricity costs of £1.10, and compared to the other scenario, they save £1.50 every single day. On an annual basis, they save roughly £550. The investment into such a battery is £4,900 with a payback period of 9 years. Remember, this doesn't even consider the other revenue streams they can tap into, such as the flexibility rewards or the arbitrage opportunities. These will make the case even better and reduce the payback period to just over 6 years. Now that the business case for a home battery is clear, you might ask yourself if you can install one. So let's go to the third point on the agenda, the requirements for installing a battery. And you might be surprised, but these requirements are fairly low, meaning that the vast majority of UK households, whether it's flats or houses, can install a battery. The first requirement is that you need a smart meter. This allows you to access flexible electricity tariffs because it records your electricity consumption in very granular 30-minute intervals. The good news is that the vast majority of households in the UK has such a smart meter. And you can check if you do by contacting your electricity provider. And if you don't, just ask them to install one. The second requirement is that you have a little bit of space to store the battery. For example, in a one-bedroom household, you can store the battery in a small cupboard. In houses, you'd usually store the battery in the basement, the garage, or even outside. The key takeaway here is that if your home can't have solar panels, you can still have a battery and get exactly the same benefits. To finish off, I think it's very clear that you can save a lot of money on your electricity costs by installing a home battery. Now is the best time to get started. The batteries are more affordable than ever, as their prices have dropped by almost 50% over the last 3 years. And if you're wondering now if you should or could install a home battery, just get in touch with us at Retrofitted. We're more than happy to answer any of your questions, provide a tailored quote specifically for your home, and also install the battery at a very competitive price. Speak to you soon.